Will you talk to Jimmy about the agenda,
Hi, Courtney. How are you? Okay.
because I really like Presley.
Presley. Okay, thank you. We're right on time. Got everybody here. Is it Wednesday? I thought it was Thursday. I think so. 3 o'clock.
3 to 5.
It's on the calendar. Can you hear me already? So what happened again? Go ahead. Without Deanna. We're on TV.
Got double waters.
Oh,
They fixed you.
perfect.
We're swimming.
Hey, Renee, will you come here for a really quick? Can you show me again where I find? I'm in my emails.
A little bit for Renee. She's right there. Okay, I hereby call this meeting to order and would like to thank you for being here tonight and also those that are watching by live stream. Thank you for being here. We have a Presley Lloyd who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you would come right on up here. Just right there. That's good.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Presley. Appreciate that. Okay, all of our board members are in attendance tonight, and there was one amended board agenda topic, which was to add the request for a 100% non-federal shared waiver for the 2022-2023 school year to the Head Start COLA Quality Improvement Increase request. There are also a couple of addendum materials which are included supporting information on a human resource report, media report, Head Start COLA Quality Improvement Increase, early graduation request, and a bid award. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended with in good faith reason for amending the agenda along with the addendum. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the agenda as amended. The good faith reason for amending the agenda is to add specific language to a board motion that is required by the Office of Head Start as part of the COLA Quality Improvement Increase request.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Is there a discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I
Any opposed? That motion has passed. Next on the agenda is approve the minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 15th, 2022 regular board meeting as presented. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion is passed. Next on the agenda is approve the consent agenda, which includes authorizing the payment of claims, approving the supplemental financial information, and approving the amended human resource activity as amended. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Go ahead.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Oh,
That motion has passed. Next, we have Courtney Fisher, who will provide us with the May recognitions.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, trustees, Dr. Howell, Ms. Johnson. And do we have student representatives with us this evening? I don't think I saw any of them. I want to thank Ms. Lloyd for leading us in the pledge tonight and being brave enough to do that. First up, we have recognitions. Tonight, we're going to recognize several individuals who, through their actions, support and embody our district's mission to think more, learn more, and be more together. Our district believes that for the CAKE Awards, our district believes a safe, supportive, caring, and respectful environment is critical to student learning. The School District 25 Education Foundation, in partnership with McDonald's, supports the Learner of the Month Award to recognize one elementary and one secondary learner per month from October through May. The CAKE Award celebrates positive character, attitude, kindness, and encouragement toward others. In addition to being recognized here with us monthly at these board meetings, the recipients also receive a baking kit for cupcakes to be made at home with their families, and also special treats delivered to their classroom to be enjoyed and recognized among their peers. Nominations for the CAKE Award are submitted by a teacher who has observed the learner's behavior in action and are approved by the school's principal. So first up for our May CAKE Award for our Elementary Learner of the Month, please help me welcome Sawyer Lloyd and her teacher, Mr. Chris Richardson, to the podium. Welcome. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. If you just want to kind of stand right next to me a little bit. Perfect. Sawyer is a 5th grade learner at Tendoy Elementary School, and Mr. Richardson is her teacher. In his nomination letter, Mr. Richardson wrote, "Sawyer has shown exemplary attitude every single day of the school year. Sawyer is a new student to Tendoy as well as to School District 25. Welcome. As a new student, it would be understandable for her to be nervous or scared of such a new learning community. However, Sawyer has been amazing. She has been significantly helpful with others in the class with their academics, as well as being a friend to anyone, and I mean anyone. Anyone who needs a friend. I observed her one day excited to hang out with her friends at recess, but on her way out, she noticed a boy in my class who struggles with social skills, who hesitantly asked Sawyer if she would be willing to spend recess with him. Without hesitation, Sawyer agreed with a smile to spend recess with him. Sawyer also volunteers in the preschool class right next to our 5th grade classroom. She will go in every week and read with preschool learners. She has been involved with many service opportunities throughout the school year here at Tendoy. She is highly respected among her peers and has been a member of our student council and is faithful in serving our school community. She is a great role model to all those she interacts with. I am grateful for Sawyer for being a gentle and amazing example of kindness and encouragement. Overall, she provides comfort to those who stand in need. She has shown outstanding character and courage. She strives to be better every day. She is resilient and never gives up." So Sawyer, tonight, in addition to the baking kit, which Mr. Richardson will deliver to you, we have this certificate for you. You are also going to get a treat for everyone in your class, and then you and your teacher will both receive a gift card to McDonald's, who helps us sponsor this event. And then you're also going to get a donation in your name made to your school library, where you'll get to help select those books and put your name in them for anybody to see who checks them out and show what a great example you are. So thank you so much, and congratulations. Please help me congratulate. And if you will say hello to our board members, and Mr. Richardson, please join her.
Great job. Thanks.
Sorry for the adjustments, but it's just kind of an awkward setup tonight. Okay, next up, we have our secondary learner of the month for May. Please help me welcome Miss Angela Reyes and her Century High School cheer coach, Miss Megan Brockett, to the podium. If you'll kind of just stand a little bit out in front, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Angela is a learner attending Century High School, and in her nomination letter, Mrs. Brockett wrote, "Angela is a kind, thoughtful learner who always puts others first." Angela is bilingual and was recently connected with a new student to help translate. After lunch, I took Angela up to a classroom to meet our new friend. On our way up, we were walking through a very messy commons area, and without even thinking about it, Angela started picking up trash and throwing it away. When Angela and our new friend connected, she invited her to lunch the next day and made her feel welcome. Angela is a cheerleader and takes a lot of pride in our school. There are many qualities that make Angela a well-deserving candidate for the Cake Award, but this most recent display of character really makes her a standout to me. She is always a good friend, a good listener, and goes above and beyond to help her teammates, fellow learners, teachers, coaches, and family. So Angela, you will also be recognized among your peers, as well as receive a gift card to McDonald's for you and Mrs. Brockett, as well as the certificate, and then a gift, a donation in your name made to your library where you'll help choose those books for everyone who checks them out to see. So thank you so much. Please help me join in congratulations. To our board members and let them congratulate you.
Great job. I love your nails and your shoes.
I think we should add courage to that acronym because it takes a lot of courage to come and be recognized. So thank you all for being here tonight. Next up, we have our May Employee of the Month, or our PIES Award. The Employee of the Month PIES Award recognizes our employees who positively influence educational success. The award is for employees who go above and beyond in that effort. Lookout Credit Union partners with us in supporting this award. Will Miss Julie Bigler and Miss Crystal Lockyer please join me at the podium? Hello, how are you? Thanks for being here tonight. Tonight we are recognizing Miss Julie Bigler as May's PIES Award recipient. Miss Bigler is Alameda Middle School's registrar. She was nominated by Miss Crystal Lockyer, who is Alameda Middle School's assistant principal. She received 2 nominations. She was nominated by a former staff member, Miss Annie Baca. So I wanted you to know that. In her nomination letter, Mrs. Lockyer wrote, "Julie is the essence of positive contribution. She goes above and beyond to help kids, families, and colleagues, from connecting families with the right resources, modifying schedules to best support learners, academic success, covering our front office when we are short-staffed, and doing each task with love, kindness, patience, and a huge smile. Julie takes the time to build loving relationships with everyone she encounters, from learners, athletes, families, and colleagues. Julie is the team player all colleagues and supervisors dream of. Julie is a creative thinker, team player, great communicator, and always acts in the best interest of kids. She is loyal, genuine, and flexible to a fault, and she is always willing to jump in and help wherever needed. She is committed to the success of all kids, all families, and all staff. She is one of a kind, and we are beyond grateful to have her here at Alameda Middle School. So thank you so much for the wonderful nomination and for the wonderful example of how to positively influence educational success. You will both be also receiving this certificate and a $50 gift card courtesy of Lookout Credit Union, who helps us support this award. And you will get $20 from Lookout for the nomination, so extra little bonus. And please help me thank you so much for all you do to contribute to this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They work so hard, and it's also very commendable that they take time out of their schedules on an evening to come be with us here tonight. So thank you so much. We have a couple other recognitions. We are going to ask Mrs. Cheryl Brockett to join me at the podium. Mrs. Brockett is the principal at Century High School, and I wanted to share with you that Century was recently named as one of the top 10 high schools in Idaho from U.S. News and World Report. I don't believe this is the first time you've been on that list. As graduation nears for many high school seniors across the nation, U.S. News is celebrating the best of the best high schools in the nation, including schools in Idaho. So out of 216 of those schools in Idaho, Century is among the top 10, which is great. 6 out of those 10 are in the Treasure Valley. Many of them are charter schools, and so it is very remarkable that we have a notable influence in Century High School right here in Southeast Idaho in District 25. The report named Century High School, and Century is ranked in the top 10 where AP participation rate is 60%. 6 of the rankings are determined by a number of factors: college readiness outcomes, graduation rates, state testing proficiency, including for traditionally underserved students. So I just wanted to welcome you here tonight and acknowledge you in front of the board and congratulate you for this amazing accomplishment. And we have the certificate for you. And if you will let our board members congratulate you as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you so much. For our final recognition of the evening and the year, this is our last recognitions of the 2021-2022 school year, I would like to invite Miss Grace Kosmicki to the podium with me. Your parents can join you if you want, or you can. Grace is a senior at Highland High School. She's amazing. I call her Grace K because I also have a Grace. So it's Grace and Grace K. And her mom says your Grace and my Grace. So very excited to introduce you to Miss Kosmicki tonight. She was recently named, you may have seen this in the paper, but she was named Idaho's top scouting honor of the year for 2022. She is a standout volunteer, athlete, and academic at Highland High School. And based on her impressive resume, she was recently named as the top scouting participant in Idaho. She was up against Idaho boys and girls with Boy Scouts of America, Girl Scouts, Sea Scouts, and Venturing Crew to earn the Veteran of Foreign Affairs 2022 Scout of the Year. Grace helped start a club at Highland High School that invites speakers from other parts of the world to teach students about their culture. For her Gold Award project, which only 6% of Girl Scouts remain in Girl Scouts or complete their Gold Award. So that's hugely impressive. I want to impart that. Grace created a nature trail of signs offering information about native plants and animals for the benefit of young skiers and snowboarders at Pebble Creek. So next time you're on the hill, look for that amazing accomplishment. Grace will now be considered at the national level, where she will represent all of Idaho, which is also incredible. She started scouting in kindergarten. She is the president of Highlands National Honor Society, through which she's done frequent community service projects. For example, she and a group of scouts created a list of local resources for people needing clothing, food, shelter, and other essentials, which they distributed to area nonprofits. She plans to attend Willamette University in Salem, Oregon next fall, where she'll run both track and cross country. She is a very accomplished young woman, and we are very lucky to have her example in our school communities. So thank you, Grace, and congratulations. And I have this for you as well. And I included a link in your addendum to that article that talks about
Congratulations,
Grace.
so awesome.
And that concludes our recognitions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is public written comment on topics not pertinent to the agenda. There have been no written comments received, not pertinent to the agenda, so we'll move on. The next on the agenda is public comment on preliminary budget for the 2022-2023 year. Are there any members of the public that wish to comment on preliminary budget? I don't think we got any. So we will move on. Next on the agenda is student representative reports, and I don't know that we have any. Do we have any student representatives with us?
They're on senior sneak.
Yeah,
Senior sneak. Okay.
they're done. Yeah, they checked out.
Well, I'm sure there are great things going on at all three schools because it's a busy, busy time for them.
Maybe I can ask them to do one last written report. Here's how the year ended.
There you go. Okay, next on the agenda, we will have Ms. Courtney Fisher again provide us with a media report and a community relations update.
I had to introduce myself to Mr. Richardson's darling baby.
Cool.
So in your addendum is the Media and Community Relations Report for May. You have links in that of all the articles of interest from the last 28 or so days. Among those headlines that you may be most interested in, articles about our school district adopting full-day kindergarten, ISU College of Education hosting the first of many teacher appreciation lunches, all of our new hiring announcements. We have had a flurry of activity in that regard and really good press in that there. And then all about the legislative primaries. So this is your friendly public service announcement that if you haven't already, go vote. And then also today's election serves as a really good reminder that the district continues to work collaboratively with the Bannock County Clerk, Jason Dixon, the Bannock County Elections Team, the Bannock County Commissioners, and local law enforcement to use our facilities as necessary and run elections as smooth as possible. We appreciate the cooperation of the staff at each of our schools where polling is hosted, and we are required in those cases where they need that polling location for the area for the use of those facilities. So it's important to remember that. Live stream board meetings. In April, we had 215 views compared to 144 in March of our regular board meeting. And for our last week's work session, we had 146 views compared to 92 in April. We continue to grow social media and post and use that as a very good vehicle to share information, accomplishments, events, really good news. As you can see from our recognitions each month, we don't even scratch the surface with those. We have so many great things going on. So we try to use social media to really enhance and highlight those activities. We continue to just be kind of standard with all of our followers on there, and we will make a concerted effort to continue to grow those as we can. Our website, we are getting ready to launch our new website platform on May 31st. We are all set up to really highlight graduation, so hoping that everything works. It looks like it's going to be a really smooth transition, I hope. But graduation will be that focus, and we have all the live stream links already ready to go. So starting with New Horizon on June 1st, we'll be able to Facebook Live that, and then the other graduations will be live streamed easily from our webpage and also our Facebook page. We will soft launch on May 31st, and then we will really start communicating and pushing that website out to the public. We need that. It's called the warranty phase with Final Site. It's really for us to kind of go very systematically and thoroughly through the website to make sure that no links are broken. So that's a soft launch that will last about 4 weeks, and then we'll begin heavily promoting that right after the July 4th holiday on July 5th. Last week, if you haven't, I added a link to your addendum from our most recent More Together podcast. I invited Chief Roger Shai from the Pocatello Police to have a conversation with me about the fentanyl and the risk of fentanyl overdose in school-aged youth. I felt like that was a really important conversation to have and to share out with our school communities as well as our parents and our kids what to look for. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that, it's about 20 minutes. I highly encourage you to listen to that for knowledge, and also if you can share that with your own group if you're on social media. As I touched on, we had Educator Appreciation Week, and thank you to the Idaho State University College of Education for spoiling School District 25 educators for 12 days straight, and they took their entire team to every single lunch, so we owe them an incredible debt of gratitude for showing us such huge appreciation. We also had the 2022 Simplot Inspirational Teacher of the Year announcement. I've included in your addendum a list of all 20 finalists, just so we posted them on social media, but if you didn't have a chance to see them all in one place, it's a really great list of those. And then Miss Elian Kong was the 2022 Simplot Teacher of the Year from Tahi Elementary. Also, our free and reduced meal applications, we're continuing to communicate that to parents. It's really important that we communicate to parents that once the 2022 school year starts, 23 meals will no longer be free to everyone. And so it's a really kind of tricky with timing for how to communicate that. We will try to use our summer food service program to get that word out to those families that take advantage of that service and really prep them to fill those applications out come July. They will be essential to get that free and reduced status. And then some other good news. Each year, the Idaho State Coaches Association presents a coach from each sport out of the entire state with a Distinguished Coach of the Year award. The 5th district landed 3 coaches on that list: Highland High School football coach Gino Mariani, Highland tennis coach Ron Osborne, and Pocatello cross country coach Shannon Whitmer. So we want to congratulate them and wanted to make you aware of that. That article is also linked in your addendum. And then we also had several spring 2022 academic state champions, so I wanted to make you aware of those. Highland High School girls track with a grade point average of 3.86. Century girls tennis with an average 3.951 grade point, and Century girls golf with a 3.95. So just tremendous things happening all across the district. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Courtney. Appreciate
Thank you very much.
Appreciate all you do. Okay, included in the packet are the following self-explanatory reports for public information. The District Curriculum Committee minutes for March 8th, 2022, Student Enrollment Report, Student Suspension Report, Idaho General Fund Revenue Report, and the Wellness Dashboard Report. We will now move on to Curriculum and Instruction, Safety, School Safety and Athletics. We will start with Science Textbook Adoption by Chuck Hoare.
No,
I'm sorry, skip over to the Head Start one.
Oh, we will go one more. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Next, we have Lori Craney report on the following: Head Start COLA quality improvement increase 100%, non-federal share waiver request for the 2022-2023, and program update, kindergarten registration update.
All right. So first, the ERSI report from Head Start. The number of students enrolled is 136. They have dropped 7. Families either moved or wanted to leave the program. 1 student was added. There are 10 on the wait list, and the families have either decided to wait and enroll in 22-23, or some have dropped or put on, who were put on a wait list should the family be reconsidered. The average monthly attendance is 86.41%. Ms. Losmack says that they already currently for next school year have 135 applications that they're processing. And they've really seen an increase there. They're getting about 20 to 25 applicants per day. One of the things that has increased that is that as families are eligible for the SNAP program, they are categorically eligible for the Head Start program. So that provides that income verification. So they're feeling that through that method, and as they qualify for SNAP, that it's being communicated that there's also the Head Start program. So that has been a good way to recruit students for the program. For the personnel, we have 2 people who have transferred to other jobs within the district. One is the mental health consultant, and she has transferred to a counselor position. And then another is a teacher assistant who has transferred to the kindergarten teacher at one of our schools. One of the Gloria Betzner has retired, and it will after 17 years with the program. So she is retiring. She is the manager of family services. And then we have 1 part-day classroom assistant who has been hired. So the district continues to move forward with preparing the infrastructure and delivery of the new modular facilities, which you'll hear some more from Mr. Balls about that today. The most recent meeting was to break out all of the related projects and identify the actual costs. It looks like it's going to happen. July 2022.
Cool.
All facility funds must be obligated by June 30th, 2022, and liquidated by September 30th. I think we can do it.
Cool.
I'm excited about
Long
that.
time coming.
Yeah, it has been a long time coming. And I've been reporting on that for a long time, yeah. You will also see in your addendum there a request to approve the submission of the COLA and Quality Improvement Grant application. It's due June 1st, 2020, and it's for the 22-23 school year. It's in the amount of $66,814. The program is also requesting a non-federal share waiver for this COLA grant. And the request is for 100% non-federal share waiver due to the COVID-19 and the lack of community resources. If this sounds familiar, last month, you approved the continuation grant, the non-federal share waiver for the continuation grant, which was a full grant, and this is for that COLA grant, that cost of living grant. And that they had to apply for a non-federal share waiver for that. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I better update you on kindergarten. Also good things, makes me smile. We are now up about 50 students from the last time we reported for the board, so we're at 659 students who have registered. And these are students that have actually come in, completed the registration process. So we have some others sitting out there online, and we're waiting for them to come in, but these are ones that they're firm. And you'll note some of the areas that are coming in quite high. It's a little bit deceiving because we had 2 years there, that the 2 years before that, people didn't come in person. So it is a little deceiving on how you read this chart there. But Green Acres is coming in high. Indian Hills, Tyhee, and Wilcox are looking high, overall. Washington is a little low, but it isn't atypical for Washington in some previous years. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, Supetta will report the following: early graduation request, the CTE Building Reconfiguration request, policy 8506, student use of personal electronic devices, first reading.
So first of all, we had an addendum today to the early graduation. We have 2 more. So we have a total of 4. They are all juniors. They're graduating a full year early, and they are all going onto college next year and taking advantage of that early graduation scholarship to go on to college. So if you can approve those, they would be much appreciative. Secondly, we have our CTE Building Reconfiguration. We talked about that at work session, where we were going to go from a total virtual CTE program to naming a building to house part of our CTE program, so that we can get some CTS funding for some of our programs. And so we need your approval to be able to do that, and then it's fill out a form and check a box and send it to the state, and they will take care of it from there. So if you
And that includes the ability to bus. Is that right?
Yep. So, and then lastly, we're requesting first reading on a policy change for students' use of personal electronic devices. And in the past, in this policy as it's written, it says the use of cameras or any type of electronic device strictly prohibited in locker rooms and classrooms without specific permission from the teachers. And that camera and video was not allowed to be posted without permission. And what we're finding is it's not only video, but it's audio. So we need to make sure that we're saying no recording device of any kind, video or audio, is allowed in the classroom without permission from the teacher, and nothing can be posted to the internet without permission from that person. So that's what that change is. And then it will go to first reading tonight, and then you'll have some time for discussion, and then second reading next time. Okay. All right.
That's it.
Thank you much.
Thank you. Okay, next on your will to report on the following: out-of-state overnight travel request, camp request, athletic gate fee changes. And I think that's all.
I hope that's all. Good
I
evening.
can't get my page to turn.
So first, the overnight and out-of-state requests. We have a physics
club at Century High School wanting to go to, it's called Physics Day at Lagoon. It makes sense because of all the physics that you have on the rides. It's actually, went to that quite a few times when I was a physics teacher. And then yearbook camp. And then the next is the proposed camp requests for the continuation of strength and conditioning, volleyball, football, some cheer camp, band camp. We try to make sure that the costs are doable. The one volleyball camp that is over $100 is actually a camp being brought to the school. So instead of traveling to a camp, they're bringing the coordinators here and putting on the camp at the school. So that's that cost there. That's why there's no anticipated net profit, because it'll go to the camp. So it helps our athletes so they do not have to travel, which is awesome.
But how, Tanya, how do kids who cannot pay for this? I mean,
So-
how does that get addressed?
Every program has fundraising opportunities, and those opportunities are given out to those students that cannot afford to pay for those things. So that's why those fundraising opportunities are allowed for any kind of camps or spirit gear and things like that for the athletes.
Okay.
And that we have actually some coaches that if the athletes help with the camp and so forth, then they get a free waiver. So we take care of them.
Okay.
And confidential. Okay.
Is there any foundation money or anything like that?
Yeah, typically our foundation money is used for activity fees, so participation fees in themselves. So we make sure that every athlete can participate. We try to save those not for spirit packs or camps. We try to save those funding for participation fees. So yes, every school has access to that as well.
Okay.
Thanks for asking. And then the final thing is the athletic gate fee change in due to the increase in officials and surrounding areas increasing their gate fee, trying to hold standard so that we're all doing the same. Does anybody have any questions over the things of order? Okay. You guys are easy on me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Okay, next on the agenda, we have business operations, which will be presented by Jonathan Balls. A report on food service free and reduced eligibility update, final bus ridership count, bid awards, surplus property auction, additional classified rate increase, and transfer wellness program funds to the VEBA trust fund.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. Thank you for your time this evening. We'll go through several different items. If you have any questions, please let me know. The first is a new report that for our new board members, but it's something we need to start looking at. As Ms. Fisher reported that our lunches for next year are no longer going to be free, and so we will be charging those our learners there, and so these free and reduced applications are going to become more and more important. And so we wanted to show you where we're at now, and hopefully we'll see a large increase after July, August, and especially at the start of school. Again, that first report shows that we're currently at 27.3% of free and reduced learners in our district. The next page, you'll kind of see a monthly trend for this school year. That's probably not too important. If you'll focus on these graphs on the right-hand side, you'll see that we basically, just because since the school lunches and school breakfast are free, there hasn't been a need for our families to fill out these applications for free and reduced lunch. And so therefore, the number has been going down. This is something that we have to reverse because this is where some of our federal funding comes from. It's kind of a double-edged sword that we do get more money from the federal government to support our families that do qualify for free and reduced lunch. Pre-COVID, I'll throw another number. It's not on your list, but we were at 43% the spring before COVID. And so I would hope that we would be able to get back to that number there. Again, it will be a lot of work. from our families, from our food service workers, getting the message out at every registration. We've already started having those discussions in our food service department and with our directors to get that word out about how important it is to fill out these applications.
Is there a deadline when that has to be, when,
There's no deadline, it's just, they just have to pay for their food until
Sure,
it's
sure.
approved.
but I mean, as far as how it relates to the money that.
Oh, yes,
Is there a line in the sand that they say, okay, by this date, this is when we take?
thank you for that question. September 15th sticks in my mind. Maybe October 1st? Maybe I'm looking for, phone a friend, yeah?
So for the one, for the one that we sent out, we sent out that.
Oh,
That one is May 31st.
Correct.
This year, and then the next one, they can start applying July 1st for next year, and then in October, there's a deadline that that they have like a grace period there to turn it in.
correct, yeah.
And I think for our E-rate funding too, Mr. Ballas, isn't that about a 6-week window right at the beginning?
Correct. Yeah, that's where I thought, the end of September, 1st of October is when we need to do that. And again, we'll have a full several weeks of school under our belts by then. And it's an online application, and so we try to streamline that, pre-populate as much information as we can about the family and the learners that we know about, so.
Will you talk a little bit, Mr. Ballas, about the challenges of where we have credit set up for our learners? And
Yes, about the,
yeah, we have like a cap of what they can charge.
Correct.
Maybe we need to look at that and be a little more flexible this year.
yes, thank you, especially at the beginning of the school year. So it's what I used to call them negative balances. Basically, our learners don't have money in their accounts, but they still need a lunch. And so we need to feed them. I think that's important, but yet we can't let them go so far in the hole. And at previous times, it's been tens and even hundreds of dollars. Even in this district that I came from, it was the same case. So right now, we have a policy that states that you can go $11 in the hole. And that equates to about a week, only a week. And so, especially now that it's been free for 2 years, we need to get the word out to our families to, okay, send our learners with some lunch money and those lunch payments. And so, again, getting this word out, we might have to be flexible, especially these first couple of weeks of school to, have flexibility there. Because, of course, we want to feed the learners that definitely need these high quality meals, during the day. So, is that
Yeah,
what you were?
but yeah, we can't let it extend too far. just
Correct.
Like, any other credit. And, so we'll do some follow-up, but we really need to get the word out to our public so they're aware. As Mr. Ball said, I mean, our numbers are showing about 27%, whereas previously they hung right around 45. So we know that number is likely not representative of where we have been and where a majority of our funding has been based for so many years. So,
Correct.
yeah, it'll be a huge part of our notification system in the coming months.
Yeah. And so when I mentioned that federal funding, they're actually still using the fall of 1920, heavens, 2019, sorry, reverse that. They're using those numbers from the fall of 2019 to handle our funding, but they're not doing that any longer. And so this fall will be important. And so anyway, we'll get that message out. So we'll report and show hopefully these numbers increasing to you. Also, just wanted to report, again, we measure ridership count. Those learners that take our school buses to and from school. And we do that 3 times a year, and the highest amount gets calculated into our formula for transportation reimbursement. So, and this is very typical. Normally in the fall, learners are taking the bus a little more often, and then as activities happen and so forth, especially maybe even during the winter, In spring, they walk, ride their bike, or have their parents take them. So just want to report that that was concluded the first part of April, or excuse me, middle of April. And there's our numbers there.
This may seem a silly question. Do you count 2 rides per day or a morning and an afternoon?
So yes, but then they divide it in half.
Okay.
So
Okay, that's what I was-
it's basically one a day, but
Okay.
that way, if we can capture some students in the morning that maybe have activities after school,
Right.
it kind of captures them. So there
Okay.
is a formula. So it's yes to both of those. Anyway, that's just more for information. Okay, so now next is several bid openings. And several of these, most of these are for food service. And a couple things that I wanted to point out on this very first bid. These are your very unique bids that we need to get numbers for next year. And so we have to set a number so that these bids come in and we compare apples to apples. Okay? But obviously, let me take this first one, the bid for bread. We're not going to buy 16,000 loaves of bread, come August, of course. We're going to just spread that out. But that's approximately how much we will use. And so on all of these bids, you'll see a hard number there, but we will get the material and the supplies as needed throughout the year, if that makes sense. Okay? So again, the first one is for bread. Received bids back from 4 vendors, and it's recommended that we award the bread to France Bakery for the amount of $73,320 for the next school year. I believe if I have them in the same order that you do, the next one's custodial bid. Is that correct in your packets? Okay. Again, that we sent out bid to over 15 vendors. We received bids back from 9, and 7 of those were awarded bids. Again, this is for toilet paper, paper towels, cleaners, disinfectant, mops, everything in that regard. So it's again, we ask for your approval to award the above vendors with their specific dollar amounts for the specific supplies that they bid on. The next one is back in food service for a program called Fresh Fruit and Vegetables. That's actually direct pass-through. We get some special dollars from this, and then this goes to qualifying schools that have actually 50% or more free and reduced lunch. And so that's another reason why we need to get these more, because this is lower than in normal, just because of those numbers. But again, you can see the 3 vendors that we would recommend approving for the fresh fruit and vegetable program for next year. The next one is the largest one. This is actually for our food. Food quantities, again, 24 vendors were invited to bid. We received 12 bids back. 4 were kind of excluded, so that you'll see a list of 8 vendors there for a little over $2 million there. Again, I looked up these numbers. In supplies alone, we typically average about 2.6 million just in supplies. Adding salaries and benefits, our food service program is right around $6 million that it takes to do that. And I will mention that we are, and we have been for a very long time, running in the black. It's a self-sustaining program there. So that is that bid for the food items. Next is some supplies, the food service supplies. Again, we recommend these 6 vendors for the different supplies, napkins, trays, etc., be awarded to and with these dollar amounts to these 6 vendors.
So just a quick question.
Yes,
Just
please.
Vast difference amounts from the difference. So I assume there was probably a master list and these vendors picked which ones they could provide And that's why you have such a spread, 121,000 versus 4,000.
Yep, some of.
Is that how that works?
Yep, there's some of that, and also we look at the low bid as well. You know, that there might be a product, an item that all 6 vendors bid on, but, this was the lowest one.
Okay. I just was
you know,
curious
this,
how that spread.
Yeah, Gem State or Wallace, that was the lowest amount.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, using those quantities that we're trying to forecast how much we'll use for next year, that is the dollar amount that they would get. Yep. The next one is what we call instructional supply. This is everything from construction paper, laminating film, even some office supplies. It does exclude copy paper, because that was an interesting part that we actually did not receive any bids for copy paper. It is under allocation, and we will, they just can't bid out that far. So we will do when we need paper, we'll do it in plenty of time and submit 3, ask for bids from 3 vendors. Obviously, we have history with our 3 top vendors, and we'll ask for a bid and or a quote and get the paper that way. So again, it's recommended that these list of 5 vendors receive awards for the items that they bid on. Okay. This next one is for milk. We really have just one vendor, and we put both paper and plastic, their bids on there. We, of course, prefer the paper cartons, primarily for the price and quality and so forth. But there was a time this past year we had to go to plastic. We were forced to, just because they could not get the cardboard cartons to put the milk in. So anyway, we are.
Strawberry, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah, if available. Yeah, it's pretty rare, but
Yeah.
it was on there. So again, our food service coordinator, Tom Wilson, does a great job at kind of managing all of these and make sure we have sufficient milk and food for our learners there. But again, it's recommended that we award this milk bid to Medical Dairy. Again, just a very small one, and we call it small wares. Just a few kind of odds and ends, cooking utensils, food preparation, that type of item. Again, just 3 vendors, 3 different things. We just get them as needed basis, but this will kind of solidify those prices. Okay. Now, for the last one, I want to make sure this was in your addendum, I believe. This was a bid that we just opened this afternoon. This is for the modular classroom foundation utilities.
I don't have any of these additions.
You don't have them?
Do we have this? Do we have this one?
Yeah,
And I
we
didn't
do.
have any of Courtney's either, and so
I didn't have one.
Okay, let's check, because this is an important one.
do you have them?
Can I look over?
I have reloaded.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
That's okay.
So what this is, again, you've previously approved the modular that Ms. Creaney and Ms. Lozmack we've been talking about this. And this is for the, we do have to get a new supply line, a new electrical for these modulars. They are larger, they will have AC, they're very nice, but that does obviously increase the cost of the foundation and all the utility work there. So we had 6 vendors were invited to bid. We thought we were going to get 2, but we did only have 1 at the bid opening. That was M&S Construction, Development and Construction, and the amount of $487,278. Again, I'll note that this is from the federal Head Start program that has been specifically allocated for us to replace these Head Start modules. So inside of that, since it was a specific federal Bacon Davis wages,
Can't ever remember that.
I can never remember, or Davis-Bacon wages? Yeah, I think that, I always get the bacon, I love bacon, I always do that first. Davis-Bacon wages. And so that obviously, helped drive the price up there. But again, we'd recommend, and our M&S said that they could meet our timeline to have this done and completed prior to the arrival of those modular units.
Is there gonna be bathrooms in that?
There will be.
So you have
Yes.
running sewer out there too?
Yep, exactly, thank you. We will have
That would
sewer.
be the big,
Yeah, they'll be very nice. It is less expensive than a stick or a frame, building, but they will be much nicer than the previous ones. So, okay, so that is all the bids we have. I believe the next item is it's our annual asking for permission to hold a surplus property auction. And again, this is a yearly ask. These are for, in statute says that, okay, any monies that are bought with taxpayer dollars basically have to, when the district has deemed them obsolete or unusable, that we have to give the opportunity to the taxpayers to purchase them back. And so we've set up for several years with primetime auction. And so that would be Saturday, July 9th. And it looks like it'll be both on-site and through the online bidding process. So we ask that the board grant us permission to hold this surplus property auction for any of this surplus equipment. Basically, these are just the things that kind of stashed away in the corner that have no need. I've tried to sell many overhead projectors and VCRs, and every once in a while you get to sell one. But anyway, there's that permission or ask there. The next one is and some additional rate increases for some of our key classified staff. And these are classified staff that are crucially important, yet sometimes very difficult to attract and to retain. Thank you, to retain. First one is our custodians. I'd ask that they move a level. Again, on the second sheet kind of shows that, or I guess, yeah, second or third sheet there, from M&O, maintenance and operation. Again, moving that from level 1 to level 2, it currently impacts about 22 full-time employees, which would increase the general fund about $42,583. This would bring their wage from current $11 to $12.08. So this would be encompassed with the 3.65% that you previously had approved. The second class of or group of classified employees are in our food service. Our food service associates, those are our frontline workers, servers. And then we'd also like to include the assistant manager and everyone in these lanes, lanes or levels, forgive me, levels 2, 3, and 4. We'd like to increase those by 7.5%. Again, this, as I mentioned earlier, this food service fund is self-sufficient, and we feel that these raises will still be able to be paid for, and with food service dollars. And you can see the raises increase there. Again, I wish everyone wishes it could be more, but this is, I believe, the conservative amount. There was a great increase given last year, and this is a nice increase this year, and then we'll see what the future holds there. But again, it's our recommendation that we increase the hourly rates and levels for the custodian and then the food service staff mentioned there.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
So why in level 1 on food service, why does it stop at 5 Does that just, after 5 years, they become an associate?
Excellent question. I honestly don't know the exact answer to that.
Maybe they don't stay that long.
Thank you, Mr. Yes, it is substitutes. Yes, correct.
We're hoping that after 5 years, they would
Find a permanent position.
find a
Okay,
permanent position.
okay.
So-
Well, that makes sense.
And,
I just didn't know.
and I do know, and I don't, at least, I believe there's only 1 or 2 subs now that, I mean, they basically just don't want to work every day, because if they want to work, obviously, we have a lot of space, a
Right.
lot of positions for them.
So then my next question is,
Yeah.
so when they've been there for 10 years, they just stay there at 10 years?
That is correct.
And that goes true with any of the classified, am I
That is correct.
It does. Uh-huh.
And that's,
Militaries.
Mhm.
and that's where we come back to you and say, okay, the 3.6, so these individuals, and there's quite a few that are level 10, that's the 3.65% that we brought with you to last week.
Right.
And that's important, for those raises, especially those people at the top of the scale.
And they get to take advantage of the state insurance fund.
Absolutely.
healthcare,
Yep,
and do you
correct.
feel like this is enough of a raise on that lower level?
I believe it is yes, I do for this year. I think it's looking at the budgets, I believe it's conservative. Obviously, there's some people that would say, oh, it needs to be more. But yet, I think as my discussions with the coordinators over these departments, this will definitely help, and then we'll reevaluate it, for next year.
And based on the market?
Correct, based on the market and see what we have.
And how many, oh, I'm sorry.
Please.
We've spent a considerable amount of time as we looked at the various salary schedules, and what we did not want to do is increase those so much that we have to pass along an increase to the food
Oh,
service
boy.
program for meals,
Mhm.
and because it's always a balance, right? And we're coming off of 2 years where there's a uniform free lunch for everyone, even though they say there's not, right? So, free lunch, and then, hopefully with the applications, we'll be able to, pull some of those folks back in and make sure that they're served, as Jonathan said, a nutritious meal. But yeah, we can't extend that credit too far either, but we really did not want to touch, a meal increase this year. And so we need to watch those numbers carefully to make sure that we don't dip down too far, that would happen. Now, in the future, yeah, it's likely that it'll happen, but for this year, we did not want that to happen.
Correct.
The only other question I have
Yes.
is, how many of these, are these all full-time? Or is there a mixture of part-time, full-time?
So with
Quarters
the,
time? So like Deanna's question on benefits,
sure.
So anything, Carl, correct me if I'm wrong,
29.
we're gonna look at 30-plus hours, right? For the full-time? You wanna come up and just talk?
Yeah,
about
you're
the-
almost there anyway, so you-
Yeah,
Get
this is
comfortable
it,
up here.
and then you're
No,
on.
this is a good question.
I got-
So, just
Yep,
who
that's
it is going. Several years ago, when the Affordable Care Act was implemented, we had to recognize that people who work 6 hours or more were eligible for some benefits under the Affordable Care Act, basically full-time insurance. And so this has been several years ago, and our veteran members of the board might recall this. We actually scheduled the bulk of those employees for 5.9 hours a day, which kept it below the 6. That was purposeful because we knew by offering or getting those folks onto insurance was going to be cost prohibitive. According to what we just heard, we'd have to raise prices for our lunches. So that's been purposeful. So they are part-time, and as we begin our implementation of the state insurance plan, we have always considered 6.5 hours a day as full-time.
Okay.
The state, on their plan, considers 6, which matches the Affordable Care Act. And so we are looking at implementing and using that same level of hours per day as our consideration for full-time employment. But we're still going to consider our school lunch employees 5.9. And so, did that answer your question?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm curious how many of our, so there, so are 100% of them
So the
part-time?
bulk of our employees out in the schools,
Mhm.
say for our managers and our folks back here in the central kitchen, some of them are 7 hours a day, some of them are
That's
8.
full. So that's considered full.
They're considered full-time, but the bulk of our food service associates out in the schools, say for our supervisors or managers, are considered part-time.
And then how many of those is it the full cadre of employees that work through the summer, or is that a volunteer thing for those that want to do the summer food service? Or is
So
that
they actually open it up, it's not volunteer, they actually will get paid, so we have a lot of.
No, I assume they'd get paid. I
Yeah.
just didn't know,
Oh, yeah, so they would.
volunteer
Oh, I'm sorry.
every day.
But yes, we actually open it up it as a job, and
Okay.
if an aide, a parapro at the school would like to help,
Okay.
have some summer hours, it gives them some summer hours, and I think we needed 20, 30 plus, I think, if I remember right.
I don't recall how many, but yes, it
There's
is.
quite a
Okay.
few.
It's an opportunity, and
Yes.
they basically apply for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have enough people typically that apply?
I don't know that we've ever had to go beg and borrow and steal.
We're meeting with the food service tomorrow, and so but yes, I believe we have enough.
Okay.
At least I haven't heard that we don't.
Many of our employees look for summer work anyway, if they're working in the school, so the school schedule. We did offer many years ago, this has probably been 20 years ago, an opportunity for employees classified employees to prorate their pay over the summer. And that got them 2 things. It gave them a summer check, and it gave them PERSI credits during the summer. And so that took away some of the incentive to do some of the summer work. They're happy with that, and they're done. But many of our school lunch workers have never participated in that, so that's one way that what they do to get some extra cash during the summer.
And I will mention, because I know some of our maintenance department also hires several that paint crews, grounds crews and so forth that we just need during those summer months that are, so labor intensive. So there's an opportunity there as well.
Very good. Thank you.
And thank you for these,
Chart.
for the new, I guess, spreadsheets.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry for all the questions last week.
You-
I can understand this
Okay.
really well.
Great.
Thank you.
Great, you're welcome.
This looks really
You're welcome. And lastly, the last thing for me is, again, it's just this, we call it a transfer to our VEBA, which is the Voluntary Employee Beneficiary Arrangement. And there is some history there, how this started. Essentially, it's there to help offset costs for classified insurance. And we haven't had to use it for the past few years. So it has a healthy balance there. And so, but again, it can be used in the future and, to offset insurance. And now we're kind of, as we're embarking in, with new insurance, we'll see if there's an opportunity that we can use that. But our recommendation is, again, that we transfer. The remaining funds, $125,000.
It's basically being the amount that's transferred into that account
Mm-hmm,
for those people who did not participate in a wellness program.
correct.
So it accumulates over the year, and then we
Was
transfer
that
that.
part from employees? The
Yeah.
part that did not participate, or is
Yeah.
this?
So, and this is the previous, is Carl.
This one says it's not from employees, but.
Well, for several years, we've worked with our insurance carrier, Pacific Source, or before them, Regents Blue Shield. And our employees had 4, in the last 2 or 3 years, they've had 5 requirements they needed to do in order to have the district provide 100% of their insurance premium, medical insurance premium. And those 5 things were get a wellness exam, a dental exam, flu shot, participate in an online wellness,
General health. assistance.
general health, that's coming up, it's empty, sorry. Thanks, Doug. And they're all paid by the district, either through the insurance or through the health fair, or wherever it might be. And if they don't participate, then they paid $65 towards their own premium. And so that just accumulated over the course of the year, and that is the money we are transferring out into the VEBA.
Explain to me the this.
Okay.
First time I heard of this one.
And I had to Google it as well. Go ahead.
The VEBA, we've, I can't tell you the year that we transferred from, this was a Regis Blue Shield product back then. And the insurance that we had what's the word I'm looking for? Reserve, maybe, is probably the best, but it built up a reserve. And this reserve became our cash after we transferred away from that plan. And so some of that money was returned to the employees because they paid employee premiums, or employee paid premiums for their family insurance. And so we paid that back. The remainder became part of this VEBA. And it is a mechanism. It's not out of the ordinary, but it's just a mechanism for the district to utilize these funds in the future for future medical costs or insurance costs, whatever it might be.
So does an employee just apply to be able to receive?
Well, we've used it for various things in the past. Recently, well, it's not really recently, it's probably in the last 10, 12 years, the rules of the VEBA, there's a set of rules for the VEBA, how it can be used, how those dollars can be utilized, and it has to be approved by the board, any sort of changes to these rules. But these rules were set up to say we will utilize them if the insurance increase for a particular year was very excessive. Now, this last year, we probably could have used them, or this year with 10.5% or 9.25%, and said, we will offset up to $175,000, I think is the
That's
amount,
correct.
of the VEBA to offset classified insurance increases. So it really minimizes the effect on the general fund. That's really what it was set up to do. And you can only do that for a certain number of years before the VEBA actually evaporates. And then you have to take a hit on the following year in the general fund because you're not only increasing the $175,000, but also the increase that might have happened for that particular year. But we have not used it for those increases for, I don't remember the last time we did. It's probably been about 5-6 years ago. So those dollars have just been accumulating in anticipation that one year we will need them. And
Does it be increase if the cost increases more than expected?
exactly. And so those rules can be changed if we need to. And so based upon what we see in the future, we might want to change those, the use of the VEBA for whatever reason.
Okay.
But by not being in the general fund, it does not get carried over and perhaps utilized for something else other than insurance. That's the intent here. That's what we want to reserve it for.
You'll notice in your packet, again, it's in one of those reports that are just up previous that we don't talk about, but they're obviously there for you to read. Anyway, it's the second to last fund, 710, VEBA Insurance Trust is the amount. You can see the cash and the amount in there. So, but again, it's our recommendation that, again, we set aside, again, it's this insurance savings account essentially to benefit the district and the employees. We'll make that transfer at the end of June. That is our recommendation. I believe that's all I have.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, so next we'll have Employee Services by Carl Smart. Report on Infinite Campus, IC Technology Department update, and the 2022-2023 preliminary budget.
Okay, I'll just remain here then. And for as far as Infinite Campus Technology, just a few things we'd want to share with you. we have our last two IC submissions for the year, the one coming up this week and one for the month of June. And they've talked a lot tonight about the free and reduced applications, and we have been trying really hard to get people to renew those applications, because we had to submit some data to this date for this month and next month on our free and reduced population. And this has some, and I can't remember which program right off the top of my head, but for next year's funding in one of the programs that they have put together, they need some free and reduced information from us to be able to appropriately fund us next year. And so we are in the midst of getting that prepared, and it is due at least for this month, for this coming Friday. Then again, we'll do it next month. Talking with the folks back at Technology, they just want to share with you that their wireless is done in the schools, and so that's good news, the new wireless updates. And they all, to kind of coincide with that, during the summer, they are going to update the process that's needed to have to enable staff to bring their own device, BYOD. You'll hear that a lot, bring your own device, and attach that to the district's network. That's being addressed this summer. And every school district in this nation, to get funding from E-rate, has to have some sort of content filter on their internet access. And for many years, we've used SmoothWall. And that product's been bought out, and so we are going to be replacing SmoothWall with another product called LineWise. And so that's going to be happening this summer as well, and to keep ourselves within the regulations set out by the federal government to receive some of those funds. So that's all I need to really share with you tonight on that item A. In your packet tonight is some very high level look at our general fund budget. Just to kind of give you an idea of what goes through to get us to this point. In February, we begin asking our administrators who are over each department or each special fund to begin entering data in their budget to request really budget or monetary item for salaries. The benefits are calculated based upon what they're put in for FTE and salary. So we have some variables built in there for medical insurance, dental insurance, and all the taxes. And then they request things like, in a good example would be Chuck and his curriculum. He'll request particular curriculum updates. And so he'll put in, say, for an elementary science program, $1 million, whatever it might end up being. I don't know the cost, what it might be, but those are the things we put in. And also people will request supplies, and if they have other things like I know in my own department we have costs associated with software. We have to cover that every year. So those are all put into the program. And of course, most of our budget is tied up in salaries and benefits. But this is, as we look at the data here, we start with the revenues, and of course we have an opportunity to listen to the State Department of Ed, usually in April. And then we create our state funding estimate, which happens to be the first page of what you see there. So the number of units, and as we talked earlier this week, we talked about base salaries and indexes and how much is coming to us in salary-based apportionment. We have a state distribution factor, which increased $6,000 this year to cover our insurance costs. So we have entitlement plus salary apportionment gives us a base support, then we had benefit apportionment to that, which gives us the bulk of our general fund revenues. Then we have some special distributions. Some of them go to general funds, some go to special funds, and ultimately, we end up with about $83 million of state funding for our district. So this sheet then gets added to all the other revenue sources that we have in the district. Some of them are coming in as levies. We have in local revenues, we have some fees that we earn, some revenue we get from, golly, I
Can
can't
I
come up.
ask, what was the strings revenue? That 5,000,
I was wondering that too.
that we sell a
I mean,
bunch of
they're just gonna
instruments?
say-
Yes, if to participate in the strings program or rental of the instruments, then that would come into the strings. We have rentals, though we get revenue from, participation fee in,
Why is it 0?
we haven't received any revenue in for it this year. And so whether it's, people came in with their own instruments or if it was miscoded, I couldn't tell you right now.
Or was it canceled because of?
That's why I was just curious as to why then 23 is 0. but-
Yeah. IDL tuition, earnings on investments, we have musical instrument maintenance.
So we're taking care of those instruments.
Yeah, they are. Participation fee, that's our revenue we get from our students who want to participate in sports. Transportation fees and so on, other local revenues. I mean, there's a mismatch of a lot of things in this other local revenue. 'Cause some of them could be rentals, some of them could be just fees that came in for kids who broke something, any of those sort of things. Then we have on the state support, we have our base support, transportation, which is our 85%. We've talked about that in the past, our 85% reimbursement. And that's usually a year behind, so we take last year's expenses and take 85% to come up with what's coming into the general fund. Tuition equivalency is a special ed item. Benefit apportionment and other state support, which is on this first sheet, which is under one of those, all that other special distributions. And ultimately, we end up with current funding, we like to call it current funding, of $91 million. And then we have a beginning balance where we bring over from the prior year. And that becomes the anticipated revenues for the current year. And what we like to see is the revenues come in more than the expenses. And this year, we are in good shape. You can see that in this next set of sheets, the expenditure object summary, most of the salaries are change has come in at 3%, which is what we budgeted for. Movement plus 3%. We've had that discussion in a prior meeting. And so when you look at, say, for instance, Object 116, which includes all of our teaching staff, it's closer to 5%. And that includes that movement we've talked about. And in overall salaries are about 5.35% increase when you include all of the, some of the movement is a little bit more than others. And so that's why it doesn't come out to us flat 3%. Then we have the benefits below that, PERS, Social Security, life insurance. The big increase there, of course, is our medical insurance because of the increased cost with the state plan. And then we have a couple that go away because the state plan already includes them, which happens to be dental and vision. And
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Before you keep going, so back up to when I'm seeing all the clerical substitutes, and the zeros, is that just because those, and substitute teachers, why are those zeros?
there was a 0% change in the request. If you look over on the far, the columns on the far left, there's an adjusted budget and a proposed budget. They are budgeting the same amounts they did a year ago. So there's 0% increase or 0% or $0 increase.
Go back to the rates for substitutes.
So this is a preliminary budget tonight, and as we look at potentially doing something with substitutes, you would see probably, unless we have not spent all of the budgeted amount from last year. If we came in under, then we would likely budget for the same amount, even with an increase. But with a potential increase, once we put kind of pen to paper. If it looks like it's going to go up, that number could change.
That number would change.
Okay.
And this is all in a piece of software that we have, that everybody shares the data, a little database. And the minute we make any adjustments, it will be reflected in this report. We'll bring that to you as we have more opportunity to speak about the budget.
So is the reason dental and vision dropped 100% because it's now in this?
Is now included in that state plan.
Okay.
And then on the next page, we have the 300 series, which is all of our purchase services. So it's anything from legal services to crossing guard and resource officer support. I mean, it runs the gamut. And there's about a 5% request, or 5% increase in this request. And much of that's going to be in, excuse me, in repair and maintenance contracts, software, basically. Much of that comes in there. And I know one other thing, they did some updating on actual costs based upon what they could actually see. What happened this year was our activity travel for kids in their sports as they traveled around the state or the district. So there was a fairly significant increase there. The 400 series is our supplies, textbooks, and that sort of thing. The one that kind of stood out was in 410, which happens to be general supplies. And we anticipate getting a fairly significant amount of increase from the state for our, oh my goodness, I just came up blank. Lori's literacy, there we go, literacy plan. And so she had quite a few increases in supplies and salaries to compensate for that increase from the state. In here you also see textbooks, 440, another significant increase because of some textbook adoptions that Chuck has budgeted for next year.
Is this the new science, mystery science program?
Yes. Yep. So those are, if we want to get into details, we can certainly bring those up and show you, but
No, I was just saying, that can be, ESSER funds can be used for that, right? For all the new curriculum adoption?
It could be. We picked up a couple over the last 2 years.
Okay.
but there,
You know, if we didn't want to take that.
yes, we could. There are sufficient funds in our general fund right now to be able to do what we need to do. So I think our intent is to leave it there. And then, of course, we have some equipment, not a lot, comes out of this fund, and our insurances. Our liability insurances are in the 700 series. Then at the bottom is our transfers and our reserves. And we anticipate transferring some money to some of the special funds to help cover the cost of their insurance for the state. And then contingency is 1% of our current revenues. Unappropriated fund balance is 4% of our current revenues. Then we have some revenue, or a reserve we have built for our inventory in the warehouse. And then we have everything that's not appropriated to anything else becomes a number in the appropriated fund balance to make a balance out with that number we had on the revenue side. And so that's what this reflects, is that balanced budget. And as you can see, we have been able to cover everything, all the requests that we had and we brought to you for our salaries, our benefits, and everything is in there. So we have been able to balance our budget. And the last little sheet that you will see is basically how that breaks down. And I just threw this in there so you can see that the salaries and benefits are the bulk of our budget. What is this here, about 87.5%? So there's not a lot of flexibility in a lot of other things. And as we talk about negotiations and salary increases, we monitor that very closely, use the new money from the state very wisely to go in and make sure that we are balancing our budget and utilizing the state funds to their fullest extent. So that is an airline view of our budget right now, so at 30,000 feet. So we will be bringing more information to you over probably for the next work session. And on the 21st of June is our budget hearing, where we'll go through this in excruciating detail. So you'll have more than you want to know. So
bring caffeine.
yeah, bring a Dr. Pepper, because you'll need it.
What about popcorn?
So,
Popcorn, yeah.
yeah.
I didn't see this in here, but I know that there was, some money that you showed me, when I met with you Tuesday after the salary increases. Brenda, we talked about how should we use this money. We had some suggestions about increasing, sub incentives.
And
Do you remember what I'm talking
yes,
about?
and we have not done any of that because that was done last Tuesday in our conversation. We can always pull money out of this appropriated fund balance to do those things that we might think we can do.
Okay, I just had.
So, yes, those suggestions we can always look at.
Oh, sorry.
They probably can't hear you on the live feed.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, those suggestions and anything that we have forgot that we don't have in this budget, we do have an appropriated fund balance where we could
Can add,
add those things and pull it out of that particular account.
okay. And can we propose something with this, okaying when we propose the salaries?
So I don't know how Doug would like to have that, how we'd like to approach that.
Sorry, I guess I didn't understand your question.
She has some, sorry.
I'm sorry, just with that money that we were talking about, away, using it for subs, I just had a few suggestions
You
for
bet.
how to use that. Is that okay?
Yeah,
I
you
just-
can share those with us,
Right now, or-
individually
Or later?
later would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then when it comes back to you for adoption, then we could highlight those and we could talk about kind of what you were thinking and
Okay,
maybe what we thought we could fund. Yeah.
okay.
So with that concludes my report tonight, so we can,
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Okay,
I
next,
understood that a lot better.
did you? Oh,
I
and,
did, and I love the spreadsheets. They're
Yes.
really good. Thank you.
and it'll come in an enthralling little tome called a budget, and it will be put online. We're not going to force you to take a paper copy, but it will be available for you and for public review.
next on the agenda, we have Human Resources by Brenda Minor. She'll report on staffing update and delegating authority to superintendent to hire for the summer.
Okay, thank you. As far as teaching positions, we have been hiring like crazy. We have a few openings still, and we tend to find right about this time of year, I don't know if it's the last few people who are thinking about it and they're on the fence, and then spring comes and May, and they decide, okay, it's time. So we've had a few openings show up, but we're doing really well. So for example, in elementary school, we have 2 full-time kindergarten positions is all we have left to fill in the certified. There are quite a few positions that will be filled as far as those paraprofessionals that go along with those full-time kindergarten classrooms. And so those will also start to be turned in. What tends to happen is principals kind of wait a little bit on those classified parapro positions just because they don't start yet. And so sometimes people will find a different position, and so then they end up interviewing a couple different times, and so they tend to wait a little bit more towards like July to hire those positions. And then we have a second grade position at Jefferson, an interventionist position at Jefferson, and then we have 2 special education positions in our elementary that we have left to fill. In middle school, we have, at Alameda, we have a math position, and at Hawthorne, as you know, we have an assistant principal position, and then we also have 1 language arts position there. And at Irving, we have a health position and a family consumer science, and then 1 science position. Family consumer science is a big opening right now because we also have 2 of those in our high schools as well. We have 1 at Century and 1 at Pocatello High School. So we have 3 family consumer science positions. And then we have 1 counselor at Century, a choir, a math, and 2, potentially 3 English positions at Century.
So
And
when
then-
you get nervous,
I'm sorry, what?
At what point do you get nervous? September or?
I'm not
August
nervous yet.
31st?
To be honest with you, what really happens is, and it depends on kind of that need. We have some more people who are out there, and I'll just be really honest, since I have started this position, it's really important to me that if we have someone who's qualified and they've went through all the program and they're completely ready to teach, I like to make sure that those people have the opportunity to apply first. And then we get to a position where we may need more of an emergency hire, which would be maybe something more along the lines of an ABCTE where they're just starting and they're getting back into that teaching component. And so we kind of refer to those a little bit more as like more of an emergency hire. And so I start to be a little bit more lenient on opening those positions as the summer goes on and the need becomes great. I will be real honest with you, just so that you know, there is quite a few candidates for a lot of these positions still. It's just such a busy time of year for administrators, and so some people just haven't had the opportunity to hire yet. And so as soon as those things start to happen, we'll do that all through the summer. I can say that Highland High School is completely hired. They don't have any openings, and there's one opening for math at New Horizon. And then we have one of our CTE positions at Pocatello High School, which goes for all three of our schools, which is a part-time in that law enforcement program, and then one social studies position. And then,
To answer your question, I think personally, we get a little bit nervous about that second week of August.
right, that would be true, that'd be the truth. I guess I
We
was,
extend pretty far, but by then, we're talking about a staff return, typically the third week of August, but we've been known to hire even a day or two into, you know,
the school year.
time with teachers, that week ahead of our learners. So, yeah, and that may be those specialty areas. Sometimes that family consumer science, especially if you're looking
For three family consumer
Yeah.
science.
So our CTE programs, because they're very specialized, it takes that one person or three.
I was going to say three people
Hopefully
to
we
fill
can
those
find-
positions.
And they're not all associated or tied to CTE, but a majority of them are. So, yeah, first, second week of August, we let our principals get back, get their hiring done, and then we'll see what's still out there.
And so I'm not to that point yet. So I'm comfortable right now, but we'll see when I visit with you a little bit later if I'm
There you
still
go.
feeling that way, right? And then the next item for me is the board in the past has delegated assembly back to the superintendent for hiring through the summer, because you only have one meeting scheduled for the summer. I'm sure I'll see you more than that, but one scheduled meeting, and so that we want to make sure that that process continues and that we're able to hire as quickly as possible and make sure that we don't lose any viable candidates. And so that would start tomorrow, that would go to the superintendent, and then it would go through August 31st, and then it would be delegated back to you on September 1st. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next, on the agenda, we have superintendent's report, which was presented by Dr. Howe. A report on the board calendar and a proposed administrative salary schedule for 2022, 2023.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. First up on the calendar, you can see we have a retirement reception for 3 of our district office staff coming up on Thursday afternoon from 3 to 5, so we hope that you could join us for a few minutes there and hop in. And then we can celebrate all these wonderful people. And Lori, Chuck, Gretchen, they've been here their entire careers, so that's a pretty significant accomplishment. Let's see, we have Wednesday Key Communicators, that has been canceled. We'll just pick it up in the fall, so you don't have to worry about any commitments there for lunch on Wednesday. However, student discipline hearings that evening, talking with Ms. Jensen today, it looks like we'll have 3. We'll start approximately 3:30. And we may try to pick up, I'm not sure, we talked about maybe a 3:15 if we even had 4 of you here, because one should go fairly quickly, I think. But we'll let you know, we'll follow up as we need to. Last day of school is June 1st, and then you'll see that evening New Horizon graduation up at the Wellness Complex, and we'll make sure you get a map so you know exactly where to go. We'll get you right up close to the stage, and just get you seated, and we'll be ready for that wonderful event. And then, of course, the next day, we have Highland Century Pocatello High School graduations, 12, 3, and 6 will be on the south side. George Casper has assured us he'll find us a room. Hopefully, it's not the locker room. No, he'll get us an office space, I'm sure. And so we will have some snacks throughout the day. We'll talk about whether you'd like an early lunch or an early dinner, or late lunch, early dinner kind of thing. And we'll make sure you're covered that way, and plenty of water. Because depending on the temperature, it gets really warm in there. Oh. So then that takes us out to the 14th. It looks like Judge Murray, I don't know when his last day is, but for now, it's Judge Murray.
I think it's July sometime.
Oh, is it July? Okay.
think it's in
So,
July.
yeah, that June may be, and I think Tanya was telling us about a retirement reception for him as well, so we'll make sure the board gets that notice and
Good.
go celebrate with him as well. And then, a month out, really, Tuesday, June 21st, will be our regular board meeting, including a budget hearing. So that's your calendar, and then we'll let you enjoy some summertime in there as well, and cut back on these meetings, because some of you are fairly new to this, and you just got right in, and we appreciate that, because this is our busy, busy time of year, where you're here for so many things, so thank you. Next up is the proposed administrative salary schedule. You can see that in your packet. We had an opportunity to talk about salary schedules numerous times in various meetings, and so appreciated the questions last week. We were able to follow up a little bit with you as you had those questions in the budget. Also included in that PDF is really a kind of a simplified version, if you will, of what Mr. Smart went over with you in the detailed version, but it just shows you the allocations from the state and how that all gets moved into salaries, insurance plans, and so forth. So it doesn't have the detail of all the expenditures certainly, but it details all of the salary and allocations based upon the revenue that we receive from the state. And so that looks like a really good number, and we're appreciative of the state legislature and what they've done for us with insurance opportunities and with enhancing our salaries. And so I present that to the board this evening for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Next on the agenda, then we have public and written comment pertinent to the agenda action items. A written comment was received and is included in the packet. I have no request for public comment on the agenda action items, so we will move on. The action items, we will now move on to action item. First on the agenda is to improve the Head Start cost of living adjustment, quality improvement increase in 100% non-federal share waiver request for the 2022-2023 school year. Is there a motion?
I hereby move the board approve the Head Start cost of living adjustment, quality improvement increase in the 100% non-federal share waiver request for 2022-23 as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I forgot, is there a discussion? Okay.
No.
Okay. Next on the item is to approve the early graduation request. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the early graduation requests as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passed. Next on the agenda, next item is is to approve the submission of a building reconfiguration request for the Gateway Professional Technical Program. Is there a motion?
Hereby move that the board approve submission of building reconfiguration request form to the State Department of Education to reconfigure the Gateway Professional Technical Program from virtual only to a blend of virtual and brick and mortar as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is passed. Next business is the hearing of first reading of policy 8506, student use of personal electronic devices. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board hear the following policy on first reading as presented. Policy 8506, student use of personal electronic devices.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I don't hear, motion passed. Next item is to approve the out-of-state overnight travel request. Is there a motion?
I hereby move the board approve the out-of-state overnight travel request as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Next is the approval of the camp request. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the camp requests as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That one, any opposed? That passed. Next on the business is to approve the athletic gate fee change for the 2022-2023 school year. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the athletic gate fee changes for the 22-23 as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed. Next is the award the following bids: the bread, the custodial supplies, fresh fruit and vegetables, food items, food service supplies, instructional supplies, milk, small wares, Head Start, modular foundation. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board award the following bids as presented. Bread, custodial supplies, fresh fruits and vegetables, food items, food service supplies, instructional supply, milk, small wares, and Head Start Modular Foundation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed. Next business is to grant permission to hold a surplus property auction. Is there a motion?
I hereby move the board grant permission to hold the surplus property auction as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed. The next item of business is to approve the amended M&O and food service classified kinds and levels of salary schedule. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the amended M&O and food service classified kinds and levels supplies schedules as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed. Next item of business, transfer the remaining unexpended wellness program dollars to the Viva Trust Fund. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board transfer the remaining unexpended wellness program dollars to the Viva Trust Fund to offset future classified insurance premium increases as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passed. Next item of business is to delegate authority to the superintendent to hire through the summer months. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board delegate authority to the superintendent to hire through the summer months, effective May 18th, 2022, as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed. Okay, the final item of business is to approve the proposed administrative salary schedule for the 2022-2023 school year. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the administrative salary schedules for the 2022-2023 school as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
I do have one suggestion. I would like to know if we can increase the high school administrator a little bit to be more in line with Idaho Falls. Is now a time I can ask for that?
We would have to,
but not affecting any other raises or anything.
then you would have a discrepancy between other levels of compensation set for administrators, but,
Right.
um,
It would kind of be more in line with Idaho Falls. There's a bit more of a jump between middle school and high school because of two high schools. I mean, I have hours for two high schools of the extra days, the extra hours. Do you want to save this for a different time? Or is it something we can?
We would have to table this if you did.
Oh, I don't want to table it. I don't want to table the
unless you
salary
have a
increases.
set amount that
I
you wanna
wanted to do
propose
three-
to the
I
other
wanted
board
to-
members,
I
and then
wanted to
you'd
do
have a
3,000.
friendly,
I wanted to do
amendment.
$3,000 increase for high school administration, because in looking at Idaho Falls District and our district, there was about a $3,000 more of a jump between middle school to high school. So that's the reason for that. And then not affecting the rest of the salary schedule, it would be more in line with
What about the assistant principals? Where do they fall? I mean,
All of
because
them.
there's,
all of them,
Hmm.
the high school administrators.
so what's the total amount you're suggesting?
It would be 3 times, let's see.
15,000?
3 is 12, 12 times 3 is 36,000. $36,000 total. But we're talking about, I mean, one high school got back to me 80 days of additional days that were not paid. 80 days. The other high school was 48 Saturdays and then 40 hours per week, but the 80 days does not reflect after-school hours. That's unpaid days, but I know it can be comped for vacation days.
So we try to be flexible with our high school administrators and their, the number of activities that they attend.
Right.
We base that on a daily rate that we have tried to increase over the years.
Mhm.
Yeah, but, and I guess I'm not completely following, but if it's a set amount,
Just to reflect the
Yeah.
fact that high school it's just a different thing.
yeah.
It's just a different thing than, I want the, administrator, I want the salary increases for all the administrators, but I just noticed on Idaho Falls's that we talked about,
Yeah.
I noticed that jump, we talked about that there was a bit more of just a bit more of an increase, because I think there's only, what, $2,000 difference, is that right? Wait, let me look.
Ms. Judy, may I make a suggestion?
Yes.
When we have had this discussion amongst not only ourselves, but I think we even mentioned it last week as we spoke, there was some concern about, especially in our elementary schools, about how we can maybe be more, for lack of a better word, fair in the way of salaries for the number of people that they are supervising.
Oh, yes.
Remember that conversation? Maybe we could add this concept that you were asking for
Yes.
as maybe part of that whole picture that we are maybe looking at for next year.
I mean, one
Could we
elementary-
maybe suggest doing that? Because I know there are some things that we need to look at in that schedule.
Uh-huh.
And if there's something appropriate we could do in mid-year, we could do that. But I would rather do it with a little bit of consistency
Yeah, I
Rather
am not
than-
comfortable with
rather
just
than doing it
not
right now.
just on the
as a-
fly here.
But if we could look at the whole big picture and maybe include that as part of that big picture,
Okay, that's,
would
Because I
that be
know-
appropriate in your eyes?
yes,
Okay.
that's fine.
Another thing that has come up since last week, seems like a million years ago now, but, is, and I understand some have talked to Brenda about this, but even on some of our secretarial staff, the difference between hours and work between the high school level versus elementary level, and yet they are all at the same. So there are some of those nuances I would love to look at a little bit more. I just don't feel like I'm prepared to do that this year or for this coming year, but would love to.
But to shoot from the hip tonight,
Yeah,
kind of scares me, I'll be honest with you, Ms.
Okay,
Judy,
okay,
so.
I-
but if
I don't
we-
want to
but
set a
if-
precedence for that either.
But if we could include that as part of that discussion and overview that we're looking at,
Yes.
that would be very much
Yes,
appreciated
I
if we
am
could maybe
totally
do
fine with
that.
Yes. It was just part of our, I guess, just only a few of us, that we just looked at that. You know, just kind of more reflective of, you know, Idaho Falls is close to us, and they had just that little bit more of a jump to reflect the huge amount of hours. And I
But is there
understand
the
it's-
census the same? How many kids, how many?
Well, it's the number of hours and the number of days that they aren't being paid for. These are just days that they're not being paid for. And they do comp for, they
A little
can
bit,
take
you bet,
vacation
yeah.
days.
And I really like Carl's suggestion because it will allow us to take a closer look at it.
Sure.
And we have talked about that even when Ms. Clark mentioned, you know, maxing out at step 10. And
Mhm.
we've talked about maybe a longitudinal, I don't know if you'd call it a loyalty stipend, but something that recognizes years of service as
Yes.
well as perhaps enrollment, staff
Yes.
supervised, years of experience, education. I think if we could
Yes.
take a broader look at many of our areas across the district perhaps,
Right.
rather than just administratively one category this evening.
Sure.
I would
Yes.
definitely, yeah,
Yes,
appreciate
because
that.
there are definitely other places.
Yeah.
Yes, we had talked about the elementary and maybe, you
So,
know,
and
twice as
So
big
if we,
as
if we,
school.
if we could look at this again at the 30,000 foot level and kind of more broadly, I think it would be more appropriate than maybe, I don't want to shoot down your idea in any sort of way, but we need to look at it more broadly and how does it affect
We're just
everything
kind of
else.
in the midst of a big budget right now, and
Yes.
probably need to get on with.
So
the
anyway,
budget
if you would,
we have.
if you would allow us that latitude, it'd
Sure.
probably be, it'd be very much
Sure.
appreciated.
Sure,
But we have your comments. We can certainly include those as we just have that discussion.
okay, sure thing. And I don't want it to include to, you know, take away from any other raises.
So,
So, just to be clear.
okay.
Okay. Okay. No more discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion passed. This concludes our meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
And that this meeting is adjourned.